So, and I associate things well, so that's how you remember them. Most people don't remember. The number one cause is they don't make any effort to. They have no interest in remembering, so their memory just keeps, they don't use it, so then they complain about it. Another common problem is overload of personal troubles and problems. If a person is suffering from nervous tension, strain on the job, whatever, these things preoccupy our thoughts. They frankly get in the way. They're just kind of like filters or whatever in our brain, and then you can't remember anything because you're so preoccupied with stress, problems, doubt, things like that. Fixed ideas and mentally disturbing thoughts get in the way. If you are a person given to following perhaps strange ideas and organizations and so forth that preoccupy you with too many fantasies and so forth, that will certainly get in the way. It's not healthy to preoccupy ourselves with illogical thinking and fantasies. It's particularly dangerous, like the movies and so forth we have with all the violence and so forth. It creates fear in people inside. Even though we might have a dramatic hero on the screen that the ending, beats the bad guys, you've just witnessed 90 minutes of a very immoral, violent way of dealing with things in life. That has an effect on people also. That can cause fears and so forth inside of you that can actually affect your memory also. People program themselves also that they have a bad memory. One of the first steps now to learn is the power of your subconscious inside of yourself. Okay? Your subconscious is programmable just like a computer is. Our brains are not so much different than a computer, and oddly enough, that's because scientists designed the computer around the way the brain works. They already learned that in the brain there are all these connectors that go off on all the time, and they designed a computer around the same thing. For those of you not familiar with a computer, the whole thing is built on a 1 and a 0. It's called binary code. 1 is on and 0 is off. And there are little switches inside, literally. They just go off on, off on, off on. And a certain arrangement of switches means the letter A. Some other arrangement of switches, on, off, on, whatever it is, means B, C, etc. And from there they've built up processors that imitate what the brain is doing in very simple format. Okay? So your subconscious inside of yourself can be programmed. Actually, it's being programmed all the time. It's just if you're not taking any care about it, it's going to get programming just kind of randomly on its own, however life deals it out. But your subconscious is open for business all the time. And as this pertains to memory, you can say to yourself, oh, I have a bad memory. I just can't remember anything. And you say that kind of offhandedly to people as an excuse when you can't remember something. Well, what you do every time you do that, you reinforce your subconscious that you really do have a bad memory. It becomes convinced that you have a bad memory. It also picks up your feelings why you really have a bad memory. Your lack of interest, your problems, your troubles, perhaps embarrassment or whatever. If you feel like you're not an intelligent person, you don't want to venture a guess at an answer, so you just hide. You don't even want to give one. Whatever the reasons may be, your subconscious really knows. You can't fool your subconscious. It is you. So, if you program your brain, your subconscious, into believing that you have a bad memory, you reinforce that. Also, your material subconscious mind that's in there feeds information all the time, or attempts to at least, to your spiritual subconscious, your spiritual self. Your spiritual self will accept things that are based on wisdom, that are not illogical, that become part of you. And if you have become a person that continually builds up an energy in your subconscious of not being able to do things like having a poor memory, your subconscious and your spirit side picks up on that also. And you affect your spiritual growth. You start to form blocks in your spiritual side, not allowing it to grow also. So power of spirit can also be little blocks in there too. So we have to kind of be careful in there, because if we give our subconscious an order, like, I have a bad memory, it'll believe you. And it knows you do have a bad memory because you're not able to remember things because you're blocking it, you're not trying it, or whatever the problem may be. So your subconscious does take things literally. If a person can clear up their disturbing thoughts, their memory will return. As opposed to saying to yourself, I have a lousy memory and I just can't remember a phone number or anything, or gee, I'm sorry I forgot your birthday or whatever. This person can actually learn to turn that around. And this is one thing you can begin working on right away, because we can all make improvements on our memory. And simple ways to do it is through concentration. You can learn to have a strong memory. You can start programming yourself that I have a beautiful memory. It's wonderful. I can remember everything. And you can concentrate on that. And as you do, as you start putting energy into the idea that you now have a good memory, your memory will start improving. And as you start finding out the things that, keep you from having a good memory, many of which I've mentioned already, and some of them may hit home with some of you people, when you find out those things and admit it and start getting them out of the way, the memory gets even better. And then you'll find out, gee, it actually works. My memory does improve. I can start associating things, and I can remember things, and it gets better, and it's not only useful, it just makes you feel better about yourself. Then you'll suddenly find out very quickly that you can program your subconscious. And that's a very good thing to understand. If you're not aware that you can, you need to know that, because that can be a major, major stumbling block and reason why people are not successful in life. They do not create a future for themselves because they have no knowledge or faith in the fact that they can program tomorrow. They can program your subconscious to go out there and be very powerful and perform for you. Well, let me give you 2 or 3 ideas on how you can begin to develop concentration. Of course, one idea would be, as we discussed on the meditation tape, the meditation exercise itself for concentrating on your own respiration or breath. We talked about that. If you didn't listen to that tape, that's a very good one to listen to before you listen to this one, because there's a lot of logical ideas and theory on there. They're going to help you with the stuff we're doing here, because you're going to do more and more meditating all the time. I'm not talking about the type of meditating where you're just going to sit on a hilltop and gaze at the sun off whatever. The type of meditating where you're just going to sit on a hilltop and gaze at the sun off whatever into nothingness. We're going to do practical things that actually change your life and change the way that you think. To develop a better memory, to develop power of spirit, to develop clear logical thinking, to develop a better self, to develop any kind of maintenance of the different parts of your mind and spirit, you must learn to concentrate. Concentrate and focusing is the very basic building block of starting to make yourself a better person. You have no hope of any kind of mind maintenance or growth without the ability to concentrate and focus on things, because without it, it is impossible to meditate. Meditation is a natural outgrowth of concentration. So let me give you 2 or 3 ideas and techniques you can do. If you're not one to use a lotus position or whatever, you can also use a candle. This is a simple one that probably most people have tried at one time or another in their life. All that's necessary to do is set yourself down in a nice comfortable chair and get a little candle, one that's going to burn at least for 5 or 10 minutes anyway, and put it about 1 yard away from you. A yard is 3 feet, so to many of us that's just a little bit beyond an arm's length. Once you do that, find yourself sitting in the chair very comfortably and focus on the rim of the candle for about 5 minutes. I'm talking about the top edge of the candle just below the flame, right in there. Some people like to look right into the flame. Personally, I kind of look right at the bottom of it. And do that. Set a little clock next to you somewhere so you know how long you're doing this. And do it for 5 minutes, thinking constantly of the word sun, S-U-N. Okay? So stare at the candle, concentrate on the word sun, block out any other thoughts that come in. If you have to visualize the sun itself, whatever you need to do, focus right on there, keeping your vision right at it. And it does start working. Your concentration builds up. Here's the process. For the first day, the first time you do it, just do it for 5 minutes. And then add 1 minute a day until you can get up to 12 minutes. So the second day would be 6 minutes, 7 minutes, etc. You'd build up to doing this for 12 minutes. Okay? Keeping out all extraneous thoughts and other things and concentrating just on that candle and thinking of the word sun. Okay? Continue then for 6 days at this particular level right here when you can do this for 12 minutes. Once you can do that, increase the span up to 15 minutes and think of a rose. Visualize a rose in your mind as you're staring right into the flame and the rim on that candle for 6 days. Okay? Once you've gotten to this point, I want to change the exercise just slightly now. You're going to continue this exercise for 15 minutes a day, but you're going to allow yourself to concentrate on a positive thought about your memory. And you can just pick it, because you're going to pick the phrase you're going to say, like, my memory is fully functional, my memory is perfect, I can remember anything, whatever the phrase or thought or idea that you want to form, and use the same one every day. By concentrating on the same thought over and over, you put power into it. You put strength and conviction into it. Your subconscious picks it up. Your spirit then attaches to it, because as you concentrate on things, your material subconscious mind sends them to your spiritual self. And as your spirit picks up on it, you're growing spiritually. This is spiritual growth, and your power of your spirit increases, and that's what we're after. So do that. Practice that one. You could also do the same thing with like a glass sphere, like a crystal ball. Some people have crystal balls around their house. You can do the same thing with that. The difference is, of course, the crystal ball doesn't have a light inside of it. So you'll need to cast or shine a light somehow into the crystal ball so that there's a bright spot right in the middle of the crystal ball. And then do the same thing with that. Focus on the middle of it using the same thing, 5 minutes the first day, build up to 12 minutes, and go through the same cycle. Some people have a lot of crystals around the house. If you have a crystal perhaps on a chain or something like that, or a pendulum or a precious stone, you could do the same thing. All we're really looking for here is a focus point to concentrate on, something that's pleasing, something that works well for you. You need to produce that light spot on there, so it makes it so you can concentrate right on it. Here's another technique you might want to try that's a little different. You can also do this with a piece of paper with a couple of lines on it. Take a plain letter-sized piece of paper, and with a nice black marker or heavy pencil of some type, draw a straight line about 10 inches long. And then right next to that, draw another parallel line, just the same 10 inches long, about an inch apart, so you got two lines. Then take the piece of paper and a thumbtack or some scotch tape or something, stick it on the wall, and put it about eye level, because you're going to sit in a chair now about 12 feet away from it. Stick it on the wall, get your chair back up 12 feet, sit down at the chair and have the paper about eye level. Sit comfortably in the chair, concentrate on the lines on the paper, but this time don't concentrate on the word sun, concentrate on the word one, as in 1, 2, 3, because you got two lines here, right? And if you concentrate on one and think it, your subconscious picks up on it, and at some point when you concentrate, as you're staring at these two lines right in the middle, they become one line. Okay? Now you're going to experience something kind of nice as you're doing any of these exercises. What will happen is that as you continue to stare at these and focus on these little lights and so forth and concentrate, depending on the behavior of the individual and how much you do this and how much mental intensity you really put into it, at some point a very small point of light will change into like a sun, or what Billy calls a sohar. It's like a glowing ball of light that just presents itself as you're focusing and concentrating. And as you do that, this will grow. It gets larger and larger to the point that it fills your entire vision. And as you keep focusing on the same spot, what happens is you slip right off into this beautiful meditation. That's a beautiful meditation immersion technique. It glows right into this large glow, and it dominates like your whole field of vision. You'll see it happen. It's a very natural thing. Nice part is also when you attain this particular glow, when you get into this blissful state and this feeling, this is called meditation. That's what you're doing. As you do that, it stays with you even after you stop. The feeling, the blissful feeling and so forth, and the imagery that stay with you sometimes for hours or even days. So it's a very good way to bring yourself into a blissful mood. If you're just a person of stress, doubt, problems, or whatever, use this technique normally. Just grab a candle, whatever, sit down and stare at it. Let that glowing ball come about, and it feels great. Another interesting thing that will probably start happening, and I'm going to get more into it later on, is after this glowing ball comes in and you get into this blissful meditative state where all of your vision looks like a glowing sun, after you stop these exercises, every now and then after that, little kind of incoherent images and so forth may just pop up, and you'll see them in your mind's eye. Don't be alarmed about that. This is the very beginning of your spiritual subconscious starting to talk to you, And we're going to talk more about it later on, but don't be alarmed by that. It's a natural way. You're not used to being in connection with your spiritual self. So as these little light images and so forth come along which don't seem to make any sense, relax. They will make sense. Your subconscious will begin to feed your material mind information and symbolism about these images, and you'll be able to put the whole effect together. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So practice your concentration. Your memory will increase.